9, take 1.
Slate 9, take 1.
Slate 36, take 1.
Yep.
Ready?
Slate 61, take 1.
Break between the doors and they sort of split up. Yeah. So they come in here on the wide, split over here, and then obviously we're back up to our business up there, and it cuts into that.
Slate 47, take 1.
A big thing about episode 6 is obviously we're going back to the city, which we've been away from for 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, presumably one of the big things people are wondering is what's the state of Bristol now? What's the deal with that green gas? And actually those opening shots at the start of the episode, we shot quite late in the process actually, separate to everything else. I think we got into the centre of Bristol on a Sunday morning about 6 o'clock in the morning.
I think it was before that.
It might have even been earlier,
actually,
with the hope that the streets would be empty. And it was amazing because it was full daylight. The amount of drunk people who were still leaving clubs at about 4 or 5 in the morning. And it looked so bizarre because we'd had a full night's sleep and people just still stumbling around. There was, you know, kebabs and burger wraps all over the pavement. So actually we had to go somewhere else, film, and then come back to let the streets clear a bit. But that was nice because it was just important to show a glimpse of the bigger picture and what has happened to the city and to allude to that.
Yeah, I think that was, you know, just something that we always had at the back of our minds, that it was important that you could be quite, you know, a lot of your characters are kind of discussing things indoors, but occasionally we have to come out wide and go, well, what's going on in the city? From a location point of view, we originally were in talks to film at the Bristol Museum. I had a lot of meetings there, and we told them what the story was, that our characters were then breaking in to take something that our character Open Coleridge required. And unfortunately, they pulled out at the 11th hour. They had a few concerns, which threw a major curveball at us. I think we were due to shoot on the Monday evening, and at 4 o'clock on the Friday before they pulled out. So Adam at the Bristol Film Office came to our rescue, and basically, you know, we managed to source an alternative location over the weekend. We then had to rejig the script.
One interesting thing with that actually is because obviously it's the John Wesley Chapel, which still has a kind of museum room upstairs, but it's not a museum. But we'd already shot episode 3 when two people say we need to get to the museum. So if you go back and look at that episode, you'll notice in both those occasions when he says chapel, it's off screen because that's dubbed because he originally said museum.
Because it was the John Wesley Chapel is a chapel plus museum, so we had to change a lot of the script, and then we're rewriting the script, sending it to the actors over the weekend, and going, right, don't forget, you know, we're shooting Monday, but here's your new dialogue that they've all learned.
We haven't got time. We need to go.
I think we've got to go, Edward.
If we thought that the farmhouse was quick filming, nothing compared to the chapel stroke museum.
Slate 61, take 2.
Here we go. Good again. Settle down, guys.
We had these 2 evenings in the chapel, and it was quick. I mean, you just had to cough, and Paul, the very lovely director, would be like, we haven't got time for that, you know. And it was like, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And luckily, Cy Pearce and myself were brilliantly professional throughout the whole thing.
Slate 2, take 3.
And action.
I'm sorry.
Action.
This looks promising.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, mate, sorry. That was totally my bad. In there, the challenge was to break everything. So we had this glass case that no one could walk near it because the floorboards were all so old that everything moved. We didn't want this sugar glass to go early. And there was also a statue that needed breaking as well.
The display case itself was quite a challenge, because even though, because I wrote 6, and you kind of say the character grabs a baseball bat and smashes the case, and then practically what's involved in that. So we rang a special effects sugar glass company and said, look, we want a display case made, here's the dimensions, which we had to make sure fitted our doll that we had bought, which was also made of wax, so that could be broken at a later date. And that was quite logistically a nightmare, because we had to then go down, I think it was in Devon, which was about an hour away. We had to go down and make sure that was collected properly and strapped in, because obviously being sugar glass, you don't want to
Very fragile.
Very fragile. You go over a speed bump on the way home and the whole thing shatters. So that was kind of like a big challenge for us. And then we've got our art director, Paul Galloway, to come along on the night and glue the thing together. So it was all these things have to happen outside of the actual shooting to make sure that you've got it all ready on the day just for one character to smash the thing. And I remember we were quite worried about how fragile that was, and we were filming over 2 nights
how it was going to break.
And how it was going to break, and the hole in the top and the whole thing stayed together pretty solidly, didn't it? And then when we'd called cut on the last shot,
Yes.
we went to pick it up to move it, and the whole thing just shattered in
Yeah.
our hands.
Yeah.
And obviously if it had happened
Mid-take,
mid-shoot.
yeah.
God knows what we would have done, because we didn't have the budget to actually get 2 of these things made, so we were taking a big chance on that.
It was great. It was high impact, and for me, I've got to say, dramatically, for the character Edward, it was the first time whereby there's the loss of the family that he'd left behind.
We did it.
It was lovely to have something that was much more emotional than saving the world, because that feels like quite an enormous task. I suppose, luckily, in my own personal life, having a wife and a son, and it made it very easy to tap into, oh my God, what if suddenly I couldn't see them because I'd travelled through time. So it made all of these enormous ideas of saving the world and time travel and alien races and trying to take over the world, it brought it down to what everything should be about, really, which is human nature and human emotion. And it gave me it gave me a much clearer idea of who Edward was and how he fitted in the story, which the farmhouse with the exposition and the toaster and the car and the windscreen wipers and everything else, and the Arga, made that was tough, because there was lots to do. But this one was much more emotional.
Alyssa's not even a trained professional makeup artist. She's, but I'm saying that in a good way. Like, she's going above and beyond the Call of Duty.
Brilliant.
It's very intricate work. Not a love bite,
Can
as
you
some
keep
people have
still,
said.
please?
Sorry.
Now take your hands away, mate, so it's just your legs. I kind of need that. Okay?
I remember actually we had a little bit of a sort of a timeline issue where Dan Winter's character picks up a picture of his wife,
Oh yes.
and we shot episode 6 before we shot episode 5, so we didn't actually have the actress Vari Calvi in costume because we hadn't shot her yet, because we were only hiring the costume for episode 5 for that one day.
Also the child.
And the child, so we didn't have the photo that he's looking at the time we were shooting it. So we shot the background plate of his legs, and then on the set of episode 5, which was probably 2 or 3 weeks later, we had Vari in her dress. We had our stills photographer take a picture, print it on set, and then we put a green screen out, and I put on Dan's coat, and it's my hands holding the picture. We then comped in with the background
With
that we'd
his
shot
legs.
with Dan's legs we had shot in episode 6. And that's a good example of how visual effects kind of, and knowing what you can do with them, kind of come to the rescue and get you around that. Otherwise, well, I don't know what we'd have done.
Let's do it really, really slowly. Maybe just see what works for you.
I'm really happy with that.
Yeah.
I think, like the Georgian House as well, 6 was a bit of a tough one where we were under time, very specific time constraints because it is a working museum. First of all, we could only go in there when it was shut. So I think we had 6 till midnight over 2 nights, whereas normally we'd shoot an episode in a day. You couldn't get a full day in that location. So we had to do those 2 nights back to back. And again, we had to finish at midnight or even earlier, I think, because we had to, otherwise we'd be incurring cost. We had staff that were hanging around to obviously look after everything that couldn't stay past a certain time. So that was a real kind of rush. And actually, as a result of that, we never got as far as filming the exterior when we approached the building.
But however we gain entry, we must be careful. This is an historic building.
I'd say there's more at stake given a broken door, wouldn't you?
It was a strange one, actually, because the opening of the episode, you'll see us walking up to the chapel. And bizarrely, that was one of the last things we filmed for the entire season.
So the opening where we approach the building is actually months later. Alicia is much more noticeably pregnant. See if you can spot that.
Yes.
From her. She transitions between the front door.
Slowly ballooning out.
Yeah. And when it was the opposite, you go reverse because you're not pregnant when you come inside.
Yeah, that's true.
So see if you can spot that. But also, that outside, that's in the middle of Broadmead Shopping Centre in Bristol, which is very loud. I think there was,
Yeah.
So that entire opening scene is also dubbed because the sound was just completely unusable. There was nothing the same man could do.
I don't suppose you got a key to this place, do you?
I'm afraid I don't. But however we gain entry, we must be careful. This is an historic building.
Why?
The soundy, always the soundy's fault.
Take 51, take 1.
One of our big things this episode was Rory Wilton, who's
Yes.
an actor that we've known for a while, who's been in Poldark and Doc Martin and a few other shows, and he played Marvin, which is our ludicrously subtle Die Hard 2 reference. For those that know Die Hard 2, Marvin the janitor that helps John McClane, that was our reference there, which is why he's called Marvin. But that was really nice because, you know, again, it was a nice opportunity to get in a new actor that we desperately wanted to use but hadn't had a chance to, and it was a great opportunity to get him in just that one episode, but still have quite a crucial part to play. And again, I guess slightly subvert expectations where rather than just have a hostile security guard, it's like, well, actually, no, he's got a personal connection to these artifacts and a reason why he wants to look after the place, and he comes to help us. Because actually that was something else we discussed, which kind of comes from Walking Dead a bit, actually, which we're all big fans of, is we can't just have everyone that our heroes run into be awful, which I'd sort of gone down the route of in my very dark episode 2 script. We can have people we bump into that are obstacles, but they need to be motivated by something that's just as understandable, just as interesting, rather than just the world's ending, so we're going to be our true awful selves. You know.
That's it, lovely. That's beautiful. And cut. Okay, great.